On today's show, we talk about Ivan Miroshnichenko, a player's name who has kind of got lost in the shuffle here with all the big additions made this offseason. Where does he fit into the Capitals' master plans? And TJ Oshie, will you be joining the Capitals this season? Tick tock, tick tock. I'll discuss next on this edition of Locked On Capitals.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, including the SiriusXM app and on YouTube. And I want to thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about Ivan Miroshnichenko and where does he fit into the Capitals' master plans. Big additions made this offseason. We talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois, Andrew Mangiapane, Duhaime, Radish, all these big players. Does Ivan Miroshnichenko have a spot on the Capitals, and what does head coach Spencer Carberry expect from him? I'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about TJ Oshie, a big name player on the Capitals, both on the ice and off the ice. He said he would let the Capitals know if he's going to be joining the team or not, but tick tock, training camp is right around the corner. What is the latest with TJ? And then in the final segment, we'll talk about the goalie tandem for the Capitals, not only this season, but in seasons to come. But just to get it going here, talking about that dynamic player, Ivan Miroshnichenko, a guy that's had to overcome a lot of adversity, a lot of obstacles. He had that Hodgkin's lymphoma, went into remission. The Capitals drafted him. He would have got much higher in the draft if it had not been for that Hodgkin's lymphoma. But Ross Mahoney and his crew looked into it and saw that, got the medical report from the doctors, and it was in remission. He was in good shape. And what did he do? He was a man on a mission. He was a guy that was so skinny when Ross Mahoney visited him that the jeans that he was wearing were kind of hanging off of his hips. He had to hit the weight room hard, put on that weight, terminated his KHL contract, and did the unthinkable, joined the Capitals last season. Of course, we know he got bounced up and down from Hershey there, but all things considered, I think that he is going to be that much of a better player this upcoming season. He was a guy that had to get acclimated to the North American game, working on his 200-foot game. And I think what we saw from him was steps forward. Most notably, in the Calder Cup push and subsequent win by the Hershey Bears in back-to-back seasons, Ivan Miroshnichenko was huge in all of that. But there's no give-me's out there. We're not going to give you a job on the Capitals. You're not going to get a sweater on any given night on Former Glory or picking favorites. He's going to have to earn it, and it got that much more difficult for him with these big additions that were made this offseason. But ultimately, what does Spencer Carberry think, and what does he have to prove to the Capitals? We know the Capitals were busy in the offseason making significant additions to their roster as they aim to establish themselves as contenders, doing the unthinkable, the improbable, by making it to the playoffs, even though it seemed at points they were down but never out, made it to the playoffs, got swept by the Rangers. Difficult. They are looking for a deeper push, and players like Ivan Miroshnichenko can help facilitate in that by doing the unthinkable, scoring goals. Who would have thought what's my goal for him? What are my hopes for him? That he can be a 20 to 30 goal scorer, if not more. I think it's there, that raw potential. If he's not going to find a spot on the Capitals, if he can get more playing time down in Hershey, so be it. I think to work on his game and be the best Miroshnichenko he can possibly be is what is best. So the hopes for Ivan Miroshnichenko in the upcoming season, hopes are high for the Russian forward, who is determined to secure a permanent spot in the NHL this season following a promising debut in North America. Again, one of the things I talked about last summer is that I wanted to get a longer look, or a look, shall we say, on Ivan Miroshnichenko on the big team, and we got that. And he didn't hit the ground running, I guess I'm going to say. There was some stumbles there along the way, like I talked about, getting used to that North American game. But by the end of the season, huge. He already took one, arm up on the rung on the ladder. Let's hope he can take the next arm up, even grow more, and be that player that I think a lot of people think he is, and ultimately why the Capitals drafted him in the first place. There is a pretty good potential upside. Talking about Miroshnichenko's performance and competition, Miro made 21 appearances at the NHL level last season, tallying 6 points and gaining valuable experience. However, it was performance in the AHL that truly showcased his development as he excelled in various roles and honed his all-around game. Being responsible with the puck, without the puck, he grew by leaps and bounds. While Miro has set his sights for joining the Capitals roster this season, he faces tough competition from an influx of centers and the introduction of players such as Pierre-Luc Dubois, Andrew Mangiapane, Brandon Duhaime, and Tyler Radish to the forward lines. Additionally, Jacob Vrana's quest for a contract through his tryout at training camp adds another wrinkle to all of that. And it's one of the things that we don't know. Jacob Vrana, we know that he is on a PTO. There's a chance that he might not even make the team. They might show him the door and say, hey, thanks for it. But Jacob Vrana, another guy that can't live on former glory. This is not 2018. He's going to have to bring it. A lot of these players that are kind of on the outside looking in are going to have to prove it. I'm talking about Duhaime and Radish, kind of these depth moves that ostensibly third and fourth line players, because there's going to be players in Hershey that grew. I'm talking Ethan Frank. I'm talking Pierre Dubé. Those kind of players, along with Ivan Miroshnichenko, that is going to make it very interesting for a lot of these players. There's going to be no gimmies. There's not going to be, here's a sweater, you deserve it. No, you're going to have to earn it. That's why I'm saying that training camp coming up here very shortly is going to be one like we haven't seen in quite some time. There is a lot at stake. Talking about the outlook for Miro, according to head coach Spencer Carberry, the primary focus is on Miro's development. Carberry emphasized the desire for Miro to evolve into a top-tier performer at the highest level, playing a more significant role in serving as a consistent producer rather than being relegated to limited minutes in Washington. He is not considered a depth move. They did not draft him to be a guy that's going to be a third or fourth liner. This is a guy they have high hopes for, a 20, 30 plus goal scorer. That is what the Capitals need. What is some of the things that we noticed last season is that Alex Ovechkin got off to a slow start and subsequently the Capitals struggled. Dylan Strome was the guy that carried the bulk of the mail in the goal scoring department, led the team in goals for a line share of the season, or the first half of the season. If the Capitals had more goal scoring up and down the lineup, like you see the really good teams have, like we saw in the Rangers, this is going to be a much better team than the season before. Potential path for Miro, with the focus on Miro's development starting the season in Hershey, appears to be the best course for him. Carberry's comments highlight that his decision ensures additional ice time and responsibility, allowing for further development as opposed to being a healthy scratch in the NHL. There is also the potential for call-ups, presenting an opportunity for Miroshnichenko to showcase his skills at the highest level, especially considering the inevitability of injuries throughout the season. We know that the Capitals have been hit squarely in the jaw many times with injuries. It helps that if Miro does not crack the roster and he's playing in Hershey, they have this really good option down in the AHL. But hey, I'm not going to say right now that he's going to be in the AHL. What I'm going to say is it's going to be difficult for him to find a spot on the opening night roster. He's going to have to pop off the page far more than many people have, projected. And if he's in the lineup, then who is going to come out of the lineup? There is a lot of moving pieces here. But at the end of the day, I am all in for what is best for Miroshnichenko. I think it's important not to have favorites. I think it's easy sometimes that you're like, hey, I'm really pulling for this player. When at the end of the day, you should want what is best for the Capitals, the team, so they can be the best team that they can possibly be and do something crazy and win as many games as they possibly can. But Miro continues to impress. The prospect of a mid-season promotion to the NHL should not be discounted. I would not discount it. I think that there is some raw potential there. Not even so raw. He kind of grew into his game a little bit more. I guess he had to grow into a little bit more to start this season, but I think that he took great steps forward, most notably with the Hershey Bears, and more specifically in the Calder Cup playoffs and subsequent win. I think that we saw that before with a lot of, Hendrik Slop here and Connor McMichael in seasons before, where those guys went into the Calder Cup playoffs as boys and left as men, overcoming obstacles. I expect to see something similar, if not better, from Ivan Miroshnichenko. So TJ Oshie, time is coming here. Training camp is starting, and will you even be joining the Capitals team? I'll discuss straight ahead. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. This is huge. To get NFL Sunday Ticket and offer through FanDuel as the NFL season is starting. And what better way to watch all of the Sunday games than NFL Sunday Ticket? Talking about getting hooked up through FanDuel. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit fanduel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making Locked On Capitals your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NHL podcast. Locked On NHL provides you with a national perspective on all things NHL each and every day, with national experts and local insight on every team in the league. Available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So there's a lot of questions surrounding the Capitals this upcoming season about the lineups, and one of the bigger ones out there is TJ Oshie. Will he in fact be joining the team or not? Like I say, tick tock, training camp is right around the corner, and I wonder to a certain extent if there's already been conversations between Brian McClellan or Chris Patrick and TJ Oshie about the future. Because when you take a look at the Andrew Mangiapane contract, it kind of coincides or it syncs up with what TJ Oshie was going to get paid, almost like they were planning on him not being here. And that's what I'm talking about. When I was talking about line combinations, when I was talking about my projections, I did not have TJ Oshie in the equation. So it will be interesting if, in fact, he does join the team. Where is he going to fit in? And to just talk about TJ Oshie, he is one of the few people out there that you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone to say something negative about him. He is a positive guy on the ice. He's a great guy off the ice. And I think ultimately that's what people like about him. He's positive. You rarely ever hear him say anything negative. And to top it all off, the cherry on top is he is one heck of a hockey player. And to see him play live is to truly appreciate what kind of player he really is. A dynamic playmaker. He is a guy that plays much bigger than he is. I remember a time that he kind of was taking on Joel Thornton, and Joel Thornton kind of just rubbed him out into the boards. Subsequently, TJ Oshie got injured, but he is never a guy that lets his size stand in his way. He is an elite playmaker. Of course, he has seen a bit of diminished returns as he got older, has gotten older, just like a lot of other players. But at the end of the day, a great player. I just kind of wish that he would do the Capitals a solid and let them know sooner than later. That's the tough part about all of this. Is he going to be playing on the team or not? But the thing of it is about his health. And I think one of the things that he needs to consider, and I'm sure that he has about his life after hockey, he is still a fairly young man. He is a guy that has children. He is a guy that has a wife at home. He has to think about that life as well, because what are some of the things that we know about him is that he played game number 4 in the playoffs with a broken hand. This is a guy that when his back is so bad, has to lay on the floor, on the hardwood floor, and urinate in a bottle because he's that bad. He wants some assuredness from his specialists and doctors that he is not going to play with the kind of pain that he has played with historically. Now, I don't think there's any doctor or specialist out there that is going to give him that kind of promise. They just don't know. And what do we know is that even when he played last season, he had to have his specialists, his doctors flown in to kind of put Humpty Dumpty back together again and kind of just push him back out on the ice. At the end of the day, is that what is best for TJ Oshie? I really don't think so, but a tough question for the Capitals and, well, TJ Oshie. The Capitals are aiming to make the right moves this summer, and they did make those right moves this summer to enhance their team for the upcoming season. Their straightforward plan is to give Captain Alex Ovechkin another shot at winning the Stanley Cup. Of course, that's what it's all about. Not all about, but it kind of is, to catch and pass Wayne Gretzky. And with all of that, giving the Capitals the absolute best chance at winning a Stanley Cup, because as Alex Ovechkin goes, so go the Capitals. Last season, he got off to a slow start. So did the Caps, kind of turned on the afterburners in the second half. That is why the Capitals finished in the playoffs, period. But Capitals' progress and ambitions, the Caps management has achieved their goal of creating a stronger and deeper lineup for the 2024-25 season. They are eager to progress past the first round of the playoffs for the first time since their 2018 Stanley Cup victory. And that's what we want. Getting eliminated in short order by the Rangers a couple seasons before, by the Panthers, it has been a whimper. It has been a slow decline. It has been, going out. It has been the agony of defeat. And ultimately, why is that? Is that the Capitals wanted to squeeze as much juice as they possibly could out of that 2018 team. You're kind of starting to think now, maybe it'd have been better to trade someone like Backstrom or Kuznetsov or TJ Oshie kind of shortly after the 2018 season. I know that's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking, but those are the things that you kind of think about. Another example would be the Pittsburgh Penguins, but TJ Oshie's importance and injury concerns, those are the key topic here. TJ Oshie has been an essential part of the team, but has struggled with injuries in recent years. There are concerns about his readiness for the upcoming season due to ongoing health issues such as a hand injury and back problems. The uncertainty, that's the hard part, but his desire to return if the doctors say he's good to go. Oshie has expressed his desire to return to the team, but also highlighted the importance of getting his body to full health. He doesn't want to hinder the team with his in and out presence in the lineup and emphasize the need for resolution before the upcoming season. You're worried about the in and out nature of the lineup. Let the Capitals know if you're good to go. At this point, I think you should know if you're going to play or not. That is what lends me to think that there has been, in fact, some conversations between TJ Oshie and Chris Patrick and Brian McClellan that I think that it's all but a formality that he will not be playing with the Capitals this upcoming season. Unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I think that is what is best for TJ Oshie, the man. So it's not just TJ Oshie. The Capitals have a lot of questions. Some of those questions were answered this offseason. The addition of Logan Thompson to the goalie tandem, a lot of questions abound. I had it as Charlie Lindgren and Hunter Shepard, and then Logan Thompson got entered into the equation. What is the whole situation with the Capitals goalie tandem? I'll discuss straight ahead. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, doing this show, watching all the games, all of that, you kind of take a look at the team and you kind of, as working on line combinations and deep pairings, you kind of see things scripted out. And as the Capitals season ended last season and Darcy Kuemper got traded out to the Kings, I'm like, well, this is going to be the opportunity for Hunter Shepard. But something crazy happened. And Brian McClellan, a guy that was able to see the Capitals with a wide angle lens, a fisheye lens, saw that, hey, Charlie Lindgren was really good last season. But can he do that again next season, considering that the season before this last season, he was really good in the month of December and then not so much? So he added Logan Thompson to the mix. Both Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren are entering into contract seasons, both players making very little money. And I think that ultimately what it's going to apply the pressure to Charlie Lindgren, that if he kind of falters even a little bit, you're going to have Logan Thompson going, "Are you good out there? Are you good out there? Because if you're not, I'm going to go out there and take your job from you." Those are the kind of things that are going on. And I think that competition breeds success. You will get the best performance from a player when you know that if they're not playing their best, there's a guy behind door number 2 that might not do it better than I can. And it's an interesting situation for the Capitals to enter into, as both of those players that I'm speaking of, Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson, are entering into contract years. Both of those players getting extensions is highly unlikely. I think it will either be Logan Thompson or Charlie Lindgren, and then it'll be either time for Hunter Shepard or Clay Stevenson. As I've spoke about in this show before, that I see Clay Stevenson being the long-term answer in net for the Capitals. But questions abound, and talking about the net minding situation and that acquisition of Logan Thompson, the Capitals made a significant move by acquiring Logan Thompson in exchange for some draft picks. This trade follows the Capitals' disappointing early exit from the playoffs and is seen as a way to strengthen their roster. The addition of Thompson is crucial, especially as the team's star player, Alex Ovechkin, continues to chase the great one, Wayne Gretzky. A common theme in the show, if you guys haven't noticed, is it's all about Ovi, and Ovi being the best player that he can possibly be. It's going to help if he's got rock solid netminders behind him. That it's, just having a great goalie is one part of the equation, but a big part of the equation. But you kind of see what it's all about. It's about Alex Ovechkin achieving his goals, and the side benefit of that is the Capitals playing very well. The Capitals goaltending situation, according to BMAC, former GM, acquiring Thompson was an opportunity to bring in a talented goalie with a potential upside. With the addition of Thompson, the Capitals now have 2 established starting goalies in the NHL, as the 27-year-old joins the current starter Charlie Lindgren. This move follows the trade of Darcy Kuemper in June, which saw Lindgren taking over the starting spot and finishing the season with a 25-16-7 record and a 2.67 goals against average and a 911 save percentage. So Lindgren was the guy to take the reins over and be that guy when Darcy Kuemper faltered. Again, I've talked about before my feelings on Darcy Kuemper, that I don't think he necessarily got a fair shake. That the Capitals, when he was the netminder to start the season, when Spencer Carberry was first here, the Capitals systems were getting rolled out, and the Capitals as a team were not playing some of their best hockey. So I think that Darcy Kuemper, to a certain extent, was the fall guy. And he was the guy that said, I really worked on my game. I just never had a whole lot of other opportunities to prove it, because the Capitals were in win now mode and Charlie Lindgren was playing very hot. But I digress. The Capitals have moved on. And ultimately, all things considered, I like the Logan Thompson, Charlie Lindgren tandem better. It's interesting how all of these things kind of unfold, isn't it? Logan Thompson's performance, the need for a reliable goalie arose after the trade of Darcy Kuemper, which brought in Pierre-Luc Dubois to the team. By adding Thompson to the roster, the Capitals have gained a goaltender with a strong track record, including being a Stanley Cup winner and an NHL All-Star in the regular season. Thompson achieved a 25-14-5 record with a 2.70 goals against average and a 908 save percentage. Additionally, he demonstrated solid performance in the playoffs before the Golden Knights made a goaltending change. So I'm going to go ahead and say it that the Golden Knights loss is potentially the Capitals gain. But, I've had a lot of time to think about this. Of course, I've thought Charlie Lindgren and Hunter Shepard would be the best thing. But, that's a lot of pressure on Hunter Shepard for, say, some reason Charlie Lindgren was not all of that. That then it would have been a Charlie Lindgren, not playing well and a Hunter Shepard getting thrust into the number one job. You kind of see when you kind of widen the lens in your own mind why Brian McClellan made the move that he did. But talking about the future, the one thing I know for sure, is that the the goalie pipeline for the Capitals is jam-packed for years to come. Some of this is more NHL ready talent than others. Some of these goalies will probably never be Capitals on the big team. They'll be viewed as assets and traded out at some point. But the Capitals, they have a lot of options in net. In preparation for the upcoming season, the Caps now have a formidable goaltending tandem consisting of Lindgren and Thompson. Both players will become unrestricted free agents after the upcoming season, allowing the team to maintain flexibility. Mac also mentioned the progression of the Capitals' potential future goalie, Clay Stevenson, who is expected to remain as Hershey's backup this upcoming season. Stevenson, a 25-year-old rookie, finished the season with impressive stats, including leading the AHL in shutouts with 7. Additionally, Mitch Gibson, who played for the ECHL Stingrays, also made an appearance for the Bears, showing promise with a 2-0-0 record and an impressive stat, posting a 1.92 goals against average and a 915 save percentage. So the Capitals are in a really great position in net. If 1 and 2 don't work, I have no problem with 3 and 4. Ultimately, of course, number 1 and number 2, or 1 and 1A or 1B, you know what I'm talking about, that it's going to be difficult, and it's semantics at the end of the day. When we talk about Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson being number 1 and number 2, people are like, well, it's not really 1 and 2. That's the way I'm going to look at it, as a 1 and 2. And I think the one thing is that the workload is going to get split up a little bit more than it has in the past. And you're kind of seeing the NHL trend in that direction, that some of these old school coaches that want to, go with the hot hand and just keep rolling that guy out game after game. And what happens oftentimes is those netminders run out of gas if that team happens to make it to the playoffs. I think the wiser way to handle it, if you have a really good option at 1 and 2, is to split the workload a little bit. And do it evenly. That's going to save your netminder from injury, from being overtaxed, and just, the goalie position is very difficult. If you guys don't know, I assume a lot of you know that as you're watching or listening to a hockey podcast, but to be going pushed from post to post in full splits, you are putting your body through its paces. So it would stand to reason that if you can spread out that workload, as long as you have a really competent 1 and 2, that is advantageous for your team and your netminders. That is the posture I think the Capitals will be heading into, a lot like a lot of the other NHL will be heading into in this coming season and in seasons to come. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals and making it your first listen of the day. Now go check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find the link to the Locked On NHL podcast in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And in closing here, just to say that my heart, my prayers go out to the Johnny Gaudreau and his brother and his family after that tragic accident that happened last week. Doing these hockey podcasts, there are a lot of things that you see coming, surprising trades, players retiring, injury, those kind of things. To hear the news that I heard about a really great hockey player and a really great man is devastating to me. It is devastating to everyone in general and the NHL about how this can happen so reckless, so careless, by that man that was allegedly intoxicated and just ruined and destroyed a family. You take a look at the Gaudreau family. Not Johnny Gaudreau was not only a great hockey player, but he was a father, he was a husband. And you take a look at his brother, his wife that is pregnant. Just think about that. I'm a father as well that have 2 young girls, and just to think what they're going through right now, It just makes you think, and how what a horrible event. And if there's anything to be learned out there, is that drinking and driving, oftentimes that is something that's said, and people think of it as something that's just said out there. Don't drink and drive. There's plenty of other options out there. You're taking your life into your own hands, but the people that have nothing to do with that, their lives, they're in your hands as well. So think about that. And my heart, my thoughts, my prayers go out to the Goodrow family. All right, I want to thank you once again for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, and I'll talk to you again next time.